All right, you're gonna want to stick around for this. Today, we're unboxing a concept so wild, so incredibly detailed, it feels like it was ripped straight out of a sci-fi blockbuster, but it was posted on GitHub. We are talking about a literal blueprint for a time machine.
And this thing doesn't mess around. Right there in the executive summary, it claims to be capable of temporal manipulation and consciousness transfer through time. So we're not just talking about sending an object back in time, we're talking about sending your mind.
So that's the big question, isn't it? What if the plans for a working time machine were just sitting out there, hiding in plain sight for anyone to find?
That's exactly what we're going to explore. We're about to dive deep into this unbelievable document that lays out a theoretical device it calls the Temporal Resonance Engine, or TRE for short. We're going to unpack its core parts, how it's supposed to work, and the absolutely mind-bending things it claims it could do.
So, how in the world could a machine like this even work? Well, according to this blueprint, the whole thing stands on three really distinct and honestly fascinating technological pillars. Let's break them down. First up, Pillar 1, the time crystal matrix core. Now get this is actually based on a real, though incredibly exotic state of matter. They're called time crystals. The document proposes putting them into a 12-sided array, a dodecagon, to generate a stable temporal field. That's the very fabric you'd need to actually travel through time. And the design gets even crazier. It calls for quantum-entangled clusters to keep the field stable, something called harmonic resonance to literally tune the machine to a specific date, and even zero-point energy harvesting. That suggests the machine could power itself from the vacuum of space. We're talking about a perpetual motion engine for time travel. Okay, so the second pillar takes us from known physics into some pretty speculative territory. The blueprint calls for something called Keshe plasma field manipulators, which are based on the pretty controversial theories of a guy named Meron Keshe. The whole idea here is to control gravity and magnetism to create little localized bubbles or warps in space-time.
So how would it do that? Well, the document talks about maggrav units to create gravity fields, plasma chambers that interact with those time crystals we just talked about, and gravitational wave modulators. And all of that tech is working together for one insane goal: to literally sculpt space-time into stable, temporal corridors. In other words, wormholes.
Now this is where it gets really weird. Pillar 3 is something called bioharmonic resonance chambers. And in a conceptual leap I did not see coming, the blueprint says this system is inspired by the alternative health ideas of Dr. Sebi. Its purpose? To get a person's body ready for the massive stress of being ripped out of your own timeline.
I mean, this just shows you how comprehensive this document is. It's not just about the machine, it's about the pilot. It talks about using things like alkaline fields and herbal infusions to make the body more resilient, and even harmonizing your body's own bioelectric field with the machine's temporal frequency. Wow.
Okay, so we've got the three pillars: the time crystals, the plasma fields, and this wild biochamber. But how do they all come together to actually, jump through time? Well, the document lays it all out in a very clear four-step process.
The whole process is broken down into these four phases. You start by syncing the traveler with the machine. Then, the engine fires up and opens that temporal corridor. Phase 3 is the jump, the actual transfer of consciousness through the corridor. And super important, the final phase is a return protocol that uses a temporal beacon to make sure you can get back home. Of course, you can't talk about time travel without hitting the big problems, right? Paradoxes and power. So let's see how this blueprint tries to solve those, and what it claims the TRE could unlock for all of humanity.
So the big one, the grandfather paradox. The document solution is straight out of quantum mechanics. It suggests that when you travel, you don't actually overwrite the past. Instead, all possible timelines exist at once in a state of superposition, and your trip just causes you to land in one of them. It's a clever way to sidestep a catastrophic paradox.
And what about the insane amount of energy you'd need to bend space-time? The design tackles that with this really ingenious, self-sustaining energy loop. Basically, the energy from the time crystals and the energy from the plasma fields feed each other, creating a system that, in theory, would barely need any outside power once it gets going.
So how far can this thing go? The document claims a mind-blowing range of plus or minus 10,000 years. Just think about that for a second. That's a scope that reaches from the very dawn of civilization deep into a future we can barely even comprehend. And with that kind of range, the potential uses are, well, they're world-changing. For science, the blueprint imagines a future where historians could directly watch historical events happen, or we could analyze future trends to stop disasters before they start. You could literally watch evolution happen.
Then you've got medicine. It suggests we could access future medical cures, or even prevent genetic diseases before they ever appear. It even talks about resolving psychological trauma through some kind of temporal intervention. And for the environment, the goals are just as huge. Preventing climate disasters, bringing back extinct species. The sheer scale of the vision here is just planetary. It's incredible.
So when you put it all together, what are we really looking at here? It feels like a journey to the absolute frontier of time, built on this amazing convergence of real science and just pure speculative imagination.
And whoever wrote this wasn't just dreaming. They had a plan. The document actually lays out a 10-year development timeline. It goes from a proof of concept in the first 3 years to human testing and then full implementation, all within a decade. So really what this all boils down to is this radical idea. A fusion of quantum physics, this speculative plasma technology, and a really unique biophilosophy. The whole blueprint is an attempt to weave all these different threads together to achieve one thing: controlled time travel.
Which leaves us with the ultimate question as we wrap this up. Looking at this incredibly detailed, really imaginative, and totally provocative blueprint, is what we're looking at science? Is it pure fiction? Or is it, maybe, a glimpse of our future?